ESPN's Tom Luginbill, who joins us now on the Pepsi Hotline. Luginbill is presented each week by Jack's Western and Outdoor Wear, just off I-65 in Coleman. What is up, Luke? How are you?
Guys, how we doing? Merry Christmas, Merry Signing Day. Hope you guys are doing well.
We're doing great, thanks. Let's start with signing day. Obviously, a big story. I don't know who out there is outstanding that is going to be like this big, massive signing day story. It seems like we're getting less of those with the early signing period. I could be wrong about that.
Well, we are. I think the main storylines going in, a lot of people are following, class rankings. And, I think it's going to be a 3-horse SEC-affiliated race for the top ranked class in the country. And that's going to come down to either Alabama, Texas A&M, or Georgia. Now, of those 3 teams, Texas A&M is the one team that's got the most ground to gain because multiple players, including outside linebacker Harold Perkins, corner Denver Harris, defensive end Shamar Stewart, all have Texas A&M as a finalist. So I think that, Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies have done a remarkable job in this recruiting cycle, despite what I think a lot of people would label as a disappointing year on the field. And I think the reason why it's important for Texas A&M, if they were to leapfrog at Georgia or in Alabama, is if you look at every one of the college football participants, all right, that has won a national championship or participated in the college football playoff, outside of Michigan State, every single one of those teams for the 4 consecutive classes leading into the time they made the playoff, all averaged a top 10 recruiting class. So there is a direct correlation between top 5, top 10 finishes in recruiting and having the greatest opportunity to make the college football playoff, which obviously is what Texas A&M is trying to crack that right now.
My expectation for South Carolina this year, Luginbill, was 2 or 3 wins. And I thought Shane Beamer in year 1, especially with the quarterback situation, did a pretty incredible job getting to 6-6. I'm looking at y'all's rankings right now. You guys have South Carolina 21st in the recruiting rankings, so making a splash there. But probably the biggest job was bringing Spencer Rattler and Austin Stogner in yesterday. I think I go back to August, and I could be wrong, but I think I asked you 1 quarterback, 1 game, and I think at that particular point you said Spencer Rattler. So this guy has tremendous upside. A, are you surprised he is going to South Carolina? And B, how good can this kid be?
I'm not overly surprised with the relationship that he obviously had with Shane Beamer coming over from Oklahoma, and he had been around Shane. He knows his personality. Kind of made sense to me. It's going to be interesting because, they're in a rebuilding phase. And Spencer Rattler, during his time in college at least, he's been a part of a roster that, at least in that conference, was superior to the other teams in the Big 12 at the time. That's not going to be the case now with South Carolina. So how does he adapt to not having maybe elite personnel, particularly at the skill spots all around him? He did not have a very good year this year. I had them twice, had them when they had Caleb Williams, also had them when he was playing. The first 6-7 weeks of the season was not the type of year that Spencer Rattler expected to have, and just wasn't performing at a high level. So he's got to recharge the batteries. He's got to, get himself back into a position where you're winning because he's the difference maker. Now, listen, is he a significant upgrade over what South Carolina currently has? Was it nothing short of a miracle what South Carolina did last year offensively with what they dealt with? Absolutely. I mean, it was an unbelievable coaching job by the Gamecocks. So yes, that enhances them. And this is part of recruiting now. Now, all of a sudden, it's not just, however many kids you're signing in high school or how many other kids that you might be signing out of the prep school ranks or the junior college ranks. You start to include, transfers, whether they be grad transfers or the one-time free transfer when you're ranking classes now. I mean, we're dealing with 85-man free agent rosters in college football right now.
Yeah, which is really crazy. I saw Lane Kiffin talking about that yesterday, how you have to manage that. 3 5-star quarterbacks coming in, as we talked to Tom Luginbill on the Pepsi hotline. There's at least 3 high-profile quarterbacks out there in this class. Connor Wegman, who's going to A&M. Cade Klubnik, who's going to Clemson. And then you have Walker Howard, who's going to LSU. Is there a Bryce Young instant impact kind of guy, first-year starter, who can move into one of those places and change the landscape for one of those teams?
Well, I'll tell you, the the quarterback room at Texas A&M just got thinner. So, I think, depending on the health of Haynes King, Connor Wegman, we think he's fantastic. Thought he was really the best player in Texas in terms of a production element of what he accomplished throughout the last 2 years. And that includes Cade Klubnik, who has had a great year as well. I would not be surprised if he comes in. I'm going to be able to see how he stacks up at the Under Armour All-America game during the week right after Christmas, see how he stacks up with elite personnel around him, and get a better sense of just how steep the learning curve could be. But I would expect him to certainly be in the mix. It's such a steep learning curve. The guys that are coming in as true freshmen and to play well and to play early, you have to have so many things happening in your favor. You have to be mentally and physically ready. There has to be opportunity. You have to have great players around you. You got to understand your role and build within it. And it's not an easy job. It's a really, really difficult leap. So, I admire guys that are true freshmen or even redshirt freshmen that just hit the ground running and are able to perform at a high level. It's so hard to project that with many quarterbacks. I think Ty Simpson, the Alabama verbal commitment, is a potential play right away guy if the opportunity presented itself. I don't think it's going to immediately, obviously, for obvious reasons, but time will tell.
ESPN's Tom Luginbill with us on the Pepsi Hotline. He joins us each week courtesy of Jack's Western and Outdoor Wear, just off I-65 in Coleman. Great spot for Christmas gifts for that Western wear enthusiast, outdoors person in your life. Jack's Western and Outdoor Wear, I-65 in Coleman. Let's talk about the Auburn quarterback situation. Bo Nix makes it official. Nobody's surprised that he enters the transfer portal, I don't think. Two things. Number one, have we seen enough of TJ Finley to know this is who he is? And number two, the guys behind him, specifically D. Davis, do you see them being able to make impact? Does Auburn have to go to the transfer portal and recruiting? Do they have a guy that can start right away? Just where is this Auburn quarterback situation?
Well, I think if you watch TJ Finley in the 5 games he started at LSU 2 years ago, and then you watched the sample size we saw this year, kind of what you see is what you get. I think there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, very similar to what we saw with Bo Nix. Although Bo Nix this last fall probably had his most consistent year that he's had in 3 years on the Plains. I know that Brian Harsin and the staff really like Holden Gariner, the true freshman they're coming in. They'll be signing in this class with the room getting thinner and the departure of Bo Nix. No question, I think he'll at least be in the mix. It will absolutely be an open competition. I don't think TJ Finley gave them enough answers to feel like they could cement him as the starter, given the performance to this point. But obviously he's played a lot of football. That gives him a leg up over any true freshman that would be coming in. Or if you decide you're going to, go and try to maybe fish the transfer portal, is there an upgrade out there? I mean, it's not just establishing depth, but you're trying to get better than what you currently have. That's up to the Auburn staff to determine if they would need to do that. But, there's been a lot of talk about, what's happening at Auburn with the transfer portal. And there seems to be a lot of focus on, this team or that team. Guys, nobody is safe from the transfer portal. I mean, this is turning into an epidemic of nightmare proportions. We are in a stage of college football as it relates to recruiting where somebody's getting squeezed out, and that somebody is the high school player. All right. So let's just say between the transfer portal and the extra year of eligibility, these coaches don't know who's coming. They don't know who's going. They don't have their hard number. It's impossible for them to guarantee committable scholarships because we've accelerated this thing so quickly and we've created such an easy path for players to come and go. And it's a mathematical nightmare right now. And so, everybody is dealing with it. Whether you're USC, whether you're Oklahoma, whether you're Texas A&M, you name a school, it's happening to everybody. And I don't know if there's a fix. I know there's a big discussion about, do we go back to one signing period? Do we push back the early signing period to maybe the third week of January and then push back the second one, maybe deeper into February? You know what I would do, guys? I would make the first 3 weeks of December a complete and utter dead period so that you'd allow sitting coaching staffs and new coaching staffs to not have to be up against the wall trying to scramble to hire a staff and put together a recruiting class. Also to be able to figure out who's coming and who's going off of your roster from a transfer portal standpoint. Right now, we've given no relief to these programs, not just the coaches, but the high school kids and the transfer portal kids of being able to just settle in and everybody kind of let the chips fall where they may. Instead, we're making this mad dash to December 15th, and it's not easy. The math's not easy. Nobody knows their true number. This is something that really, really needs to be addressed.
What do you think the market's like for Bo Nix and any potential landing spots?
You know what? I can't really comment on a potential landing spot. You start to look at other schools that may have a need, like let's just say a North Carolina, Sam Howell's departing. Could there be a fit there? So I think that's where you got to look first, and I'm sure that's exactly where he is looking. But here's the thing with Bo Nix, in my opinion. What's the transfer portal for teams? It's to upgrade your position group. It's to get better quicker and to maybe have an all of a sudden short-term solution to something. Well, there's enough of a sample size for coaches out there to study Bo Nix and make a determination on whether or not they think he's better than what they currently have. Because based off of what we've seen so far, is Bo Nix athletic? Absolutely. Does he have a strong arm? Yes, he does. Does he have a penchant for making great plays? Absolutely. Has he been wildly erratic? Absolutely. Has his accuracy been ineffective? Absolutely. So the question is, if you really start to study him, do you feel like you're getting an upgrade? That's the question that coaching staffs have to answer. And for a lot of people, if you went down a level, then yeah, you'd probably think it's an upgrade. If you're talking about middle to upper tier Power 5 schools, you're going to have to make that determination. And I think the one thing that gets in the way for Bo Nix is a lack of consistent production week in and week out throughout his 3 years.
Tom, before you go, maybe it's because his first name is Cam, but everyone seems to be focused on Cameron Ward from Incarnate Word moving up, and he's in the portal. He's looking for a place to land. I saw, him being tied a little bit to Kiffin and Ole Miss. What do you make of that guy? And is he an SEC kind of guy? Would you see him changing an SEC team maybe this year?
Well, I think sometimes those types of guys like a Cameron Ward, when they end up at a place like that, it's generally because they're a late bloomer. Doesn't always necessarily mean they're not talented enough. They've just bloomed at a later rate and a slower pace than some kids that were more physically advanced than he was coming out of high school. So was he an SEC caliber talent at that time? No, probably not. Has he worked himself into being one? Possibly, yes. Through production, he's become a bit of a hot commodity. Listen, we saw that happen with Bailey Zappi. If you guys remember last year, he's at Houston Baptist. Most people didn't even know Houston Baptist had football.
Yeah.
And he goes on and has one of the most prolific years as a quarterback in all of college football at Western Kentucky. Nobody even really knows who he is. He might get drafted. All right. So this is going to start happening more and more and more as people start to prove themselves at the lower levels.
All right, ESPN's Tom Luginbill. You'll see him all day long tomorrow on ESPN. No notes, no bathroom breaks, all off the top of his head, and a massive bladder, right?
It's not 12 hours anymore. I get all kinds of breaks now. I mean, that's the one thing about this 2 signing period deal. It's actually made my day a lot easier, and I can kind of slow down and really focus on things as they come. And yes, I get bathroom breaks now.
Okay, so let me update that. Tom Luginbill, still no notes, but he can pee at will. So that's a big day for Luke. Yes, all right.
You got it. Anytime I want.
Tom Luginbill is presented by Jack's Western and Outdoor Wear, just off I-65 in Coleman. Great Christmas gift idea for the Western wear lover, outdoors person in your life. Jack's Western and Outdoor Wear. Thank you, Lugs. We'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right, that is ESPN's Tom Luginbill with us, at Tom Luginbill on Twitter. He was on the Pepsi Hotline.